Okay, let's go into map 2. So simple zigzag corridor here for a map transition, very basic, but it works to a certain extent. I think the lighting is slightly wonky from one map to the next, but it doesn't jar too much, I think. Map transitions have always been kind of tricky, in my opinion. I don't think I've ever done a really clean one. So certainly want the player to stop the player from going backwards. So this door's locked, you're not getting back through there again. And we certainly don't want Alyx going backwards. One of the issues there was transitioning backwards. I had a bug where every time I transitioned, if you went back into map 1, it would start the intro music and sort of the blacked out screen and stuff again. Anyway, fix that. But once you're here, you're kind of, it's a one-way trip. So hopefully clear message, or apart from non-English speakers may not get it, but hopefully they can see what's happening here. There's nowhere to go just yet. Basically shoot some crows for fun. I haven't seen anyone doing sort of casual bird shooting, mainly because it's fairly cruel, but it seemed like quite a fun thing, especially when you've got the rebels and Alyx, you know, being able to join in as well, and you can all join into sort of a bit of a co-op crow shooting. And once again, it's that sort of non-threatening, let's play some games, let's have some fun before we head off and we start getting combine soldiers and all that nonsense. So at one point I was going to have, similar to the original Deep Down, you'll notice there's an outdoor yard section which is similar to the original Deep Down. I was going to have some combine shells come flying in here, as you can imagine them arcing in like in the first game, landing here, letting out loads of head crabs, and then I was going to have an assault, a full-on assault to this area with, you know, a gunship flying in and some striders coming up, and then once again, similar to like the original, you would get in the car and head off at speed, punch through the sort of enemy lines to try and, you know, find the source of the attack and then deal with it. But why didn't I do that? I didn't. I had the idea of the dog throwing catch sex scene, which we'll take a look at in a minute, and I wanted to use that. And the problem with that is that it's quite a slow-paced bit of gameplay, and if you're under attack with shells coming in and combine, you know, attacking everything, that just didn't make any sense to have that puzzle there. But I liked it so much, and there's a term in creativity, mostly in playwriting, and is kill your darlings, which is basically means, you know, your mod is as good as the thing you love the most that you were willing to get rid of, basically, that you were willing to sacrifice for the overall project. And the dog catch and throw thing, I just wasn't willing to sacrifice, basically. So that's why there isn't the similar structure here, and that's why we headed off into a slightly different. You know, it's a bit more slow-paced. Go and investigate this kind of narrative, as opposed to a sort of full-on crazy attack. Although I will admit, in the first game, I think it gave it a lot more kind of excitement as you sort of headed out. Okay, bit more voice acting from me here. Not great. My my excuse for or my sneaky way of getting around not having to do lip syncing and making him talk was obviously the welding mask, which was cheeky. But Magnar Jensen used a sort of a Stephen Hawking type character in Mission Improbable, so I figured I'm not without sin. I'll just also further right back. I added the Portal Still Alive sort of Mexican mix from Portal, the Portal game, on the radio back there during the crow shoot, just because I thought it was fun. And as many references as I can get to other games in the Half-Life Valve kind of Half-Life universe, the better. People like that kind of thing, I'm assured. Okay, so here we are at the dog puzzle. Several things that are key to this puzzle. First of all, obviously I can't allow you to leave. So this is a car gate. It's sort of like a weapon gate, but it's for the car. It's a toxic tunnel. You try and run through it, you're going to die. There's no way to leave. The car is up on here, and obviously there isn't really anywhere to go. Most of the time I build puzzles by really giving the player no other options, nowhere else to go. Obviously we've got toxic sludge down the bottom, but yeah, essentially I'm just making sure you can't leave without the car by putting the sludge in the tunnel. The battery puzzle, which I'm sure a few people rolled their eyes when they saw it. Lantern indicating something of importance for you to come and look at. So you put the first battery in, and that triggers dog to appear. And I was trying to figure out how to use dog because everyone loves him, and I really want him in my mod. He's very limited. He can't fight. He can run fast, and he can throw and catch. And the challenge, the more tricky bit of this, obviously, is that I don't have the gravity gun just yet, which in some ways makes it a little more tricky. But you can still do throwing and catching with dog even without it. Alyx is sort of triggering things when dog throws and when I catch. Sometimes it sounds a bit clunky, but sometimes if you're triggering, things just happen to fall the right way. It sounds pretty natural. So I was quite happy with how that turned out. Dog's throwing, I can't make him. He's honestly, I couldn't figure out how to really get him throwing more accurately. You can encourage him. He gets there. You get there eventually. It's fine. He will come through for you. There's nothing I can do to make him throw a little better. If you do step back a bit, you'll get the gist, and it sort of adjusts his throwing as you go. So yeah, sort of taking the battery puzzle, but doing something a little bit more interesting with it. And caught it. Good. It's a win. Yeah. I think overall just pretty satisfying as a thing. Dog can't climb up things, or it doesn't have any animations to climb up or climb down. So I couldn't have him climb up out of the pit, so I just teleported him up onto the side here when we're ready. I've done that with Alyx at certain points as well. Alyx does have climb up and climb down animations, so that's very good for getting rid of her at certain points, because the player can't climb up stuff as high as she can. Yes, so as I say, like getting rid of dog and getting rid of Alyx, when they're inconvenient and you want to bring them back again, is kind of tricky. So I just, I kept dog along for a little bit just to acknowledge the fact he's there and everyone likes him, and obviously the puzzle hopefully was fun and people enjoyed it. If you can call it a puzzle, an activity, shall we call it? These are, some pretty easy. This is pretty much the same piece of rock. I can't speak. Sorry. This is the same rock displacement here as over and over again. Just kind of moved a little and redone, and then you just sort of move them around a bit, maybe tweak it a little. But the bridge I pretty much lifted out of the model set and recreated. Yeah, it's just sort of lifting things out of Valve maps and just seeing how they've done it. Either lifting it or doing something else. I think the cabin up here is Follistomp, a friend of mine, sort of just put that together for me, and I've used it several times through because I think it's quite a nice build. It was just a sort of a piece of scenery he built for me, I think per request, or I think maybe he did it off his own back. But there is a hanging crate there, you can see, with some goodies if you're looking for these things. I say keep looking up and you will find them around. I thought that was kind of fun. I always like that bit in episode 2 where they've got the sort of lambda caches. I didn't use the radar in the car, could have done, but yeah, I thought I'd leave it a little bit more obscure. So as we head through here, it should break as we hit. So a lot of these physics props break on impact in a quite a satisfying way. That one had fruit in it. And we're loading into map 3, and I'm going to keep going at this point. So map 2 is pretty straightforward, but it was quite satisfying to build. I think it was as big as it was. Our dog's giving us a race at this point, so we can chase after him. Map 2 is as big as it is because I was thinking about doing a big sort of combine invasion, and then what was going to happen there was you would have you would have a strider chasing after you. So you'd sort of come out in the car, and there'd be a strider there waiting, and then the strider would chase you sort of down the valley, or and it would chase you into this map. And as you got to here, the strider would sort of appear and start walking down this way, and you'd be kind of forced to flee indoors. And then I was going to, you see these windows here on the outside. The idea of the inside piece was going to be, as you played through the inside of these corridors, the strider would try and shoot at you through the windows, and all the way through, which is why you sort of go back and forth. And all of that sounds great. And in fact, you can even see the discoloured wall there. That piece of wall used to explode, which is the reason why it's slightly different coloured. And all of that I eventually ditched because it was just too complicated. It wasn't working very well. And to be honest, even when I built it and I finished it, it wasn't very fun, because I don't know, for whatever reason, it was just too complicated and didn't work. So I ended up rethinking this area. And this area has always been about the gravity gun, really, because essentially it's a weapon gate for the gravity gun at this point. You don't know what you need to get rid of this. I don't know if people remembered at this point that they needed a gravity gun to punt the energy ball out of here. I don't know if they sort of head off thinking, right, I've got to go and find the gravity gun, or whether it's just, I can't do anything here, I'm going to see what else I can do. I think it's more likely to be the latter, that they're looking for something else. This is the first indication of Overwatch, these cameras, and they're peppered throughout the entire mod, and the idea was to kind of foreshadow the fact that something's watching you all the way through. These combine cameras are used so rarely in the actual mod itself, but I thought they'd be quite interesting. I think so coming out, obviously we've encountered that. We're not sure what to do with it. There's actually a supply crate in the ground floor there. So then we come exploring over here, and then we maybe look through this window, see there's a whole bunch of saw blades and explosives and things like that. So maybe that triggers more in their head about the fact the gravity gun as well. Wish I had a gravity gun so I could use those things, maybe. And then finally we head into here. As that breaks, Dog heads off because I didn't want him around for the fight with the Combine later. Dog is inconvenient from a narrative perspective because, quite frankly, he's unkillable. He can destroy everything incredibly quickly, as we've seen in the game. But all of those are pre-rendered animations, which I can't do. So you have to sort of make him scarce at times like these. And I did think about having combat and stuff like that with him in, where essentially wrapping him in a damage trigger and having him run through Combine soldiers and stuff like that. I did also play with, there's one animation where he picks up a van and throws it, and you can actually wrap that in a kill trigger, and the van, and as it hits people, it kills them. And it looked great and it played well, but it has to be in a very controlled sort of street environment, as it is in the game, where you can't get past Dog and he can throw it without, you can see it and do it, but anyway, it sort of plays that as a very controlled scene, and it wasn't really possible for me to do that. So what we end up with here then, after so many sacrifices, or not sacrifices, but changes and compromises or whatever, is we end up with just a series of zombie infested rooms. I quite like the fact we've got a limited weapon set at this point. We've got the shotgun, but I think the grenades really come into play here, and it's something I've always enjoyed. Once again, I'm playing with the saw blades, but I've always played this area with grenades because I think it's quite fun. Some more flares there I put in everywhere. Alyx has got some great animations when she gets up close to zombies like that. Yeah, I really like zombie areas. I can't help myself. I find myself always coming back to zombie infestations just because I think they're I don't know, it's just a nice sort of bit of gameplay. You're sort of picking the level apart, and they're not, it's not high pressure gameplay. You're not going to die too quickly. You've got time. If you back off, you can make your own space. And it is, zombie gameplay is all about making space around you, as we've talked about before on some of my other videos. So So yeah, I do tend to move towards that kind of gameplay. Ooh, okay. So once again, grenades solve these problems for me. There is a zombie waiting here behind the door, so as you come through, he'll come at you and give you a little bit of a deeper shock. But there you go. And one of our yellow crates with things in them, so there's a grenade in there. That's handy. Once again, another quite a nice grenade moment. And I threw a zombine in there just because you've got some regular zombies and then you've got the zombine behind them. He's sort of disguised, you might not see him, and then suddenly you realise you've got a bit of a problem on your hands as he starts to close the distance. So it's quite fun. Once again, sort of picking this apart. And this was just an idea I had. I quite like, once again, with the flares, but I quite like the way these guys sort of just, you know, crawl to their doom and then make a big fuss about it. I had way more of these guys up here, and I've actually trimmed it right back because it was just, it went on for hours. And while there's comedy in the suffering of these zombies, and it's satisfying to hear it. That's something I need to fix. This zombie was supposed to be removed. He's actually blocking the doorway. I'm not even sure if that worked, but you can't open the door if he's there. Damn it! I need to remove that. But there's a few more bugs in here still to go before the Steam launch. So another thing I'm doing here, you'll notice almost every doorway has wood over it, and this comes back to the sort of busy work aspect of Half-Life 2. I think if you sort of pick your way through levels and unpick them, then I think that's quite a nice way of moving through and emulating the original gameplay. Is that you should, you know, there's always something to do. Once again, busy work, keeping the player busy all the time. Okay, so this entire level, right, so first of all I need to get rid of Alyx. So here she goes with her jump up animation, and she'll run off. And there you go, and so she's gone. And then we get to the kind of the nub of this entire level. I had the idea that I really wanted the player to jump off a platform onto a long drop whilst grabbing something, and that something became pretty obviously quite quickly to be the gravity gun. There it is. So obviously that's our key to getting out of the area and to move on. I have a fizz prop here, which can only be moved with the gravity gun, so that's a weapon lock there. And so we're trapped in here until we can get this out. Having dropped into the area as well, there's no way back out again. This was quite a fiddle for a while. I kept trying to find a way to soft lock the player in, and I forgot about these that cluster of beams, which is too heavy for the player to pick up and can only be moved by the gravity gun, which is quite handy. This was going to be in the sewers at one point. I had an original build and had some friends sort of testing it out, where you were sort of underground, and then this worked. As it was, I moved it above ground. I can't remember why particularly. I think it made quite a good structure externally, so I quite liked having that sort of towering above. But I mean, essentially we're climbing all the way up just to jump back down again, which is a bit silly. But I think in the sewers, deep underground, it had more of a black masonry feel to it, which I quite liked. But bringing it up here works anyway. At one point I had a gnome up here, the golden gnome, and unfortunately that was making players think that they were trying to get up onto this gantry, so I had to remove it and put it somewhere else. Anyway, so we make our leap of faith. Oh, there we go. Get the gravity gun, and hopefully if we're underground we spot the fact that these things are here. Physics gets kind of funky on these things, but if you break enough of them, wow, it killed me. That's amazing. That hasn't happened before to me, but I told you the physics gets kind of funky. Um, Sometimes you just can't tell what's going to happen in this game with the physics engine. That's interesting. I'm not going to necessarily... I don't think there's necessarily a way to fix that. I like having the... I might be able to look at those and see whether I can stop them from doing physics damage. Make another one for the list. Alright, let's go again. Okay, so what I might do... I'm not sure if you can actually shoot the... No, you can't. So... pretty powerful, the forces going on. So what I've got here is, those of you that know my work will recognise these big platforms as being appeared right from the very first. It's literally the opening of Daylight, my very first mod. I had these platforms because essentially you can use them like a little raft, yeah, control the gravity gun as you move around. So obviously we're heading out in a moment. One thing I do want to show is that if I dive back in again, right the way down the bottom here we get our golden gnome. I quite like the fact that the music is muted underwater because I used a 3D sound for it, but I quite like that. Okay, let's see. So now we can remove our girders and head on out of here. I added these just for a bit of light and to draw attention to the exit. There isn't really any other antline activity in this space, but it was quite useful. And then I thought what would be quite nice is having a scene where you know, suddenly the bad guys have arrived while you've been gone. Setting this image up here was quite obviously. When you come out, I'm forcing you to turn to the right using these shelves, and it looks like they've become aware of me, which is incredible. And then, of course, you see Alyx on the right here, as well as all of the Combine soldiers here. I did put visibility block, but they have become aware nonetheless. And now this is kind of fun. So what I like doing is giving the player time to do what they want to do. So I'm giving you all the goodies in the world for the gravity gun that you could possibly want for killing Combine with, and I've given it all to you in one space, and I've given you a big red button to push when you're ready. So here you can kind of, you know, set everything up the way you want, get things ready, and when you're ready you can start causing havoc. The only downside of this is that unfortunately Alyx can die if we're not careful, so we do have to be a little cautious. Nice. So sometimes you can get like a whole bunch of them all at once. But yeah, she does take quite a beating at this point if we're not careful. Oh, that's a good shot. I did think about dialing back the number of Combine here, but quite frankly, I think there's kind of a point to it in that, you know, it's just monstrous brutality of what's about to happen. Yeah. And this guy was supposed to be bothering you at the top of the thing when you were trying to make your jump, but it was kind of annoying, and just so happens that actually something changed in the map and he started coming down here instead, which I have got a problem with. I'll leave him in just for character. So okay, so we have a gravity gun. Now we can unlock finally our the original objective that we saw at the beginning of the level. Instantly Alyx can't come in here. I've stopped her because she kept getting snagged. And there's various things when you're dealing with NPCs, especially companion NPCs, where they get snagged and stuff like that, so you really need to do this. The one thing I wanted to do, well, there was a part in episode 2 where you had one of these ball generators, and if you punted the ball out and it bounced around inside the room and it went back in the generator, it reinitiated, and the only way to solve that was to punt it out the door. In this case it doesn't do that, and I haven't been able to make it to be able to sort of kick back in again if it were to come back into this trigger. So as a result, it doesn't matter if you punt it out the door or not. It will, even if it falls back in here, it will fizzle out and the force will go down. But people tend to angle it up so they can punt it out the door anyway, because I think they remember that from episode 2. So we are in the car. We're away instantly. As we got in the car, Alyx changes her weapon. So when she gets out of the car, she gets the shotgun out. When she gets into the car, she gets the pistol out. When she gets back in the car, I think she drops the shotgun. So I think you might, from time to time, see a shotgun lying on the floor, which Alyx left behind. So heading into here, one thing is as you hit fizz props and stuff like that, they cause damage in the car. I haven't been able to stop that. I'm not sure how, but it's only a very minor amount of damage, and hopefully it doesn't upset people too much. And I'm going to pause here. The next stop here would be to take us into map 3B or map 4, depending on which way you're counting it, which takes us into the sewers. So I'm going to stop at this point though. Thanks a lot for listening.